You hear music? I hear music too. We're not supposed to. So. There we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Divide with Marcus C. Williams and
Brian McKenzie.
We are here, and we are in the house on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. If you guys are tuned into us online, make sure that you hit the subscribe, the like button, and the share button. Make sure you take 2 seconds, hit share right now. And we want to see that whole thing just light up with likes and hearts everywhere.
Like a Christmas tree.
Like a Christmas tree. It's almost Christmas time, isn't it?
It's getting there.
Well, you know, maybe if these
Halloween's first, though.
Yeah. You know, I heard Mariah Carey is thawing out.
She might be. Might be.
Oh man, Christmas is so close. I can almost feel it. But first, we've got to get through Halloween and this election cycle.
Yeah, we have that. I mean, I think that's bigger than anything right there.
Oh
the
my goodness,
cycle.
yes.
Oh man, and we'll talk about the trends and all that stuff in a little bit. But I wanted to kick it off by I had a lot of people this week write to me on social media talking about Proposition 1 and the disguise it's being given. And I think Marcus, can explain this more. So I'm going to kick it over to him on this to explain exactly what it is and why it's important that we know what it is when it's coming up on the ballot. So go ahead, Marcus.
So you guys, if you guys have heard of Prop 1 or you haven't, we're going to go into a very brief scratch of the surface because I could be on
it's going to be like 3 shows. Right?
It'd be so long. I actually did one on my podcast, The Elephant in the Room. You guys can search that on YouTube, The Elephant in the Room.
That's a good podcast. You did a good job with that.
Thank you kindly. If you check that out, there's one on there with Sasha Silver, and we talk about Prop 1. But now, Prop 1 is an amendment to the New York State Constitution. It's very, very interesting the way that they phrase it because they're advertising it as something that is fantastic. That's just so awesome and great for the New Yorkers. Now, we know,
that's what everyone's saying.
Listen,
this guy. So
we know, being New Yorkers, that generally when the New York State government tells us that something is great roses and flowers, it is
red
not.
Flags should pop up all over.
I'm trying to tell you, the sirens are blaring, okay, and the flags are flying, okay.
Like going on a date with me.
It's listen. If he's saying that, ladies, listen. I don't know that he's an eligible bachelor, but he's a decent guy, let's be honest though. When the government starts telling you that you need to make amendments to the Constitution, you need to stand up and take notice. That's the first thing. And if we're going to be honest, the Constitution in New York State is really already pretty laid out. And the ERA, which is the Equal Rights Amendment, which is already in our Constitution, lays out non-discriminatory terms already inside it. What this bill is, I wouldn't even call it, it's not even a bill, it's an amendment. Right?
Yep, it's an amendment.
This amendment does is they try to add different categories and segmentations to this, which then therefore vicariously snatches away the rights and liberties of others, because we know whenever you try to start to specify more and more, you categorize, but you leave more people out. So it opens the thing up for even more discrimination, and it's very concerning. Now, we already have in the Equal Rights Amendment, it says basically ethnicity, creed, religion, all of the normal stuff that you would think. Now, in this new proposition, they're proposing to add things like gender identity into it, and they're trying to add all types of other stuff. Now, I just want to take 2 seconds and talk about the gender identity issue. So with the gender identity issue, that means that it would allow little girls that go to the bathroom to be in bathroom with grown men.
Yeah, and girls that are 13 years old in the locker room have been walking around. It's disgusting.
And now imagine this: if you're a parent of a young female and you're at the park and you want her to be able to use the bathroom, would you feel safe with your small daughter being in a bathroom with grown men that you do not know, that are strangers, and you don't even know where they come from?
Better yet, wouldn't you expect that to be a protection of your daughter's rights to be able to use the bathroom without that happening?
Well, no,
that would just make sense.
Again, well, but this goes back to what happens when you start segmenting things more and more. You limit other people's freedoms. And this is a very serious issue that we're experiencing right now. Not just that, this strips away different rights and liberties with girls' sports. It basically eviscerates girls' sports, which is a big issue for many people. And it doesn't matter really what side of the board you're on. You know, we have girls' sports for a reason.
And the vast majority agree. I mean, both sides. Like you said, the vast majority agree girls' sports should be girls' sports. That's it.
Well, I mean, but here's the question. We've seen all of these different men going into women's sports.
And dominating.
You know, because women are just physically less muscular because of the
hormones, the weight growth,
muscles.
And I can get into a whole scientific discussion on that because I've done it a million times. But it just, if you're listening, it just doesn't make sense. But someone might say, well, Venus Williams can beat you, Brian, in a tennis match. Yes, you can. But apples to apples, it's not going to happen.
She played against. She played not. It wasn't Venus. It was
Serena played against a 162 ranked guy.
Yes, and she lost. And she lost really bad. They had the women's soccer team a couple years ago. The national soccer team. They played against some high school
Arkansas,
boys.
15-year-old boys. Yeah,
and they got trounced.
Yeah, it was like 4-1 or something.
Yeah, they got trounced. You know. And it just shows the reason
why we need to protect
women's sports. No, it really does.
It does.
It really does. Then it goes into other parts in this. They call it the Parent Replacement Act. You might hear it being called. You might hear it being called the Equal Rights Amendment or anything like that. But what it does is it strips away more and more rights. There's also a thing that says that you can't discriminate by age. Now, age discrimination. What does that even mean?
Yeah, where does that end?
So, well, where does it start?
Yeah, where does it begin?
Where do you see age discrimination now? Does that mean that if, like, the mayor just made it so you can't be 21 to be in this section of the neighborhood? That's age discrimination. Right. Sounds like age discrimination.
You can't drink a beer until you're 21.
Well, but that's age discrimination too. You can't have that.
Right? I mean,
well, but then also, right? Wait. Now, here's a better question. If you can't do that, because it's age discrimination under this new amendment, then what would happen, theoretically, completely theoretical,
of course,
to all of the discounts for the elderly?
Correct.
You couldn't have those.
That's discriminatory pricing. You can get that. We both can. We'll go after lunch after.
Yeah. You know, it's legitimately called discriminatory pricing. I want you to go look it up. It is a real economic term. This isn't something that's new that just came up under the woke era. This is something that has been called that for decades. So you can't have that. You can't have senior living communities.
Right. I was just thinking that I could go get in, and do a senior living.
You know, you get that good discount.
I mean, I'm getting old. Not that old.
Is it getting one of them 75 plus?
Oh man.
Is that what you're interested in, Brian? Is you want to get out there?
You never know. You never know what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
I keep that secret.
You know, so, but we make light of it, but it's a very serious issue. And the only reason why we joke about it a little bit is because it's so dreadfully serious that it's honestly kind of terrifying. I need you to honestly think, if there is no age discrimination, that means that the ages of statutory are no longer there. Consent is gone. There's no age of consent. That's terribly alarming, especially since we've seen people push this narrative that what do they call them? Minor attracted peoples,
no longer pedophiles. Don't say that word.
Minor attracted peoples is something that should be normalized. I'm not trying to normalize
but if you look, I mean, 95% of the country doesn't believe that, but it's the loud 5% that pushes that, and it's insane.
Well, but the way that they're marketing this, you guys, they're marketing this as that it's an abortion bill.
That's exactly a woman's reproductive rights bill.
But it's got nothing to do
it's disguised
with reproductive rights. Now, let me be honest. First of all, let's talk about this two ways. First, reproductive rights, right? Let's say that. When you hear reproductive rights, that is a misnomer. Somebody's just talking about abortion.
It's just another name for it. Yeah.
They're not talking about your right to have a child. Have you ever heard them say reproductive rights and say you have the right to have a child? You should be able to have your children, all the children. No, they'll say if you're poor, you should get rid of your baby. If you're black, you should get rid of your baby. Like these are real things that have been said out of the mouth of these people. Yep. I was watching this girl the other day, and she said, "Well, after they legalized abortion, crime went down 40%." So somebody they asked, they said, "Well, why is that?" And she was like, "Well," he was like, the other guy was talking to her was like, "Well, you know, the biggest demographic, the biggest demographic of people having abortions is black women. So are you saying that getting rid of black babies lowers crime?"
Well, I mean, look who the founder of Planned Parenthood was. And I don't see, when I come out here, I don't take a side on this, but I like to lay out the facts. And the fact is, black people would represent 30% of this community, of the nation, if it wasn't for abortion.
Well, we've got serious number issues that in the next 10, 15 years, we're already below replacement rate. Okay, as far as birth are, you know, I was reading the thing the other day. I don't know if we talked about it here, but they said the last couple of years in Monroe County, there were more abortions than there were births. There were more abortions than there were more deaths than there were births. Right. Also, more abortions than births, more deaths than births. So it's when they talk about it, that shows you. Hold on, that shows you there is not an issue with access to abortion.
Correct. That's going nowhere. In New York State, that's going nowhere. So there's no issue with
access. That's so. And why are you saying that this is that? Because they want you to get out and they want you to vote under it under a false pretense when it's got all of this other stuff tied to it. Now, had they just wanted to make it specifically that, they could have.
Yes, they could have.
But clearly they did not want to. Now, the way that it is worded in there, even though they're trying to do a court case to change the words, now these people, and if you're a Democrat and you're listening to it, it is what it is. Don't be mad. It's just
it is what it is.
The Democrats are the ones who wrote this. Okay, they're the ones who pushed this forward, and now they're trying to sue to change the language that they put in it because it doesn't say anything about abortion.
Yes,
it doesn't say anything about reproductive health care. So when they go out and they say that this is what it's about, and then you show people what the wording is, they're like, "Wait a second, it doesn't say that."
Wait. I mean, the reproductive rights or whatever, abortion in New York State is going nowhere. There's no reason for them to label a bill something it isn't, or I'm sorry, a constitutional amendment.
But it's purposefully,
of course it is.
And that's why they're trying to get the language changed, because they see that that is an issue.
People read it.
Now, what happens is it says birth outcomes, okay, which is you decide on what that is. Okay, that's a separate conversation for another day. But that is in there. But the abortion part is not. And this is very, very concerning, because they figure, oh, well, we'll get people all emotional and we'll get them upset.
It works people up, yes.
Right? And amped up. And then that's what they'll do. That's what they'll do. They'll vote on emotion.
That's what they've been trying to do nationally and here. I mean, all over the place.
That's exactly what it is. And the real scary thing is it's a trick, you guys. It's a trick. And so I'm in a Democrat area in New York State. If you guys are watching from somewhere else, we're in New York State. Make sure you hit like and subscribe and share them. Take 2 seconds. Like, subscribe, share, hit that. If you're watching right now, I want to see the thing light up with all the hearts and all the thumbs up. Make sure you share. Hit that share button. Boop, boop.
Hit that heart button 20 times. I like to see
and hit that follow as well. Make sure you follow and subscribe. Now, but in New York State, abortion is codified into law. It's not going anywhere. Okay, it's very popular. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's not there. You couldn't vote it out in
it doesn't matter.
In 100 years. It's not going. But they try to use that as a guise for this. Now, other issues with this, I'd like to get back to this because it's very frustrating. You know, when we talk about Prop 1, what it also does is it limits your ability to say anything that may possibly offend anybody. So we go back to, for instance, the gender identity. Okay, what was it? It was gender identity and gender something else. I can't even remember.
I know what you're saying.
So it was something else. I read it similar thing. But the gender identity, if you are a non-binary ghost identifying person, how am I supposed to know that?
Right.
So how am I supposed to know how you identify randomly? I've never seen you before in life, or whatever the case.
Yeah.
And now you're mad because I misgendered
Because
you.
you walked up with a goatee and you called him a sir.
Yeah.
I mean,
you
sorry.
know, but that's a real thing, and it sounds crazy, you guys. But this is what is happening, and this is what is being done. It's a real situation. Now, what it also does is, because of the way that it prevents people from talking about the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about this on here before. They are doing whatever they can to limit you to speak about Jesus and the Lord our Father, and that is a very serious problem, because the whole Bible is offensive.
Of course.
The whole Bible is offensive. If you look at it, the Bible is offensive mostly, including the Torah, to Jews, because the Torah is the whole story of how the Jews refused to get right. It's so this is why they say that it clearly wasn't written by man.
Yes.
So this is the contention. It wasn't written by man, because why would somebody make themselves look so bad?
Yes, exactly.
So, but it tells us, because that's where we get those convictions about, oh, you shouldn't do this, because the examples are laid out in the Bible.
Yes.
These people did such and such, and this is why you shouldn't do it, because it goes against the rules of the Lord. But if you talk about the gospel and it offends somebody under this adjustment with the Prop 1, then you can go to jail.
Wow.
You can go to jail for preaching the gospel. What's up with that?
I mean, does it say where or when? Like, I mean, what is it? Schools?
No,
just straight up?
anywhere.
So somebody on a street corner.
Somebody could on the street corner.
Yeah, like we see all the time.
Like we see all the time. Okay. Or somebody that's in a church, and somebody comes to visit your church, and they're offended at your church. Didn't nobody ask them? Didn't nobody drag them? But they're offended there, so they can say, "Oh, you violated my constitutional rights." This is very
just crazy.
dangerous.
This is very dangerous, and I guess that's why I had so many people write to me over the last week. I mean, I'm not kidding you, Marcus. I was flooded with messages in my inbox on Facebook saying, "Brian, can you please talk about this on your show? Brian, here, I'm sending you this, I'm sending you that." And I'm like, wow, I've never gotten that many messages for the show in 1 week. And I obviously had to read it last night and the night before, and I'm like, wow, this is insane. Talking, it limits parents' rights as well to
we didn't even get into
that part. Yeah, I want you to explain that part, because that part's one of the most serious parts, I believe.
The whole thing is
crazy. It's insane.
The whole thing is terrible. So there's a conversation about parental rights. So some people call it some people say
shut down the show.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to pull out the whole cords and the power cords and stuff. But what it does is it limits, we already talked about age discrimination. It's trying to get rid of it. So essentially what we've also got with this bill is it takes away parental rights. Right now in New York State, there are already some terrible laws that are on the books, specifically in reference to a law that allows anybody that's over the age of 12 to get any type of medical procedures done on them or any type of medications without their parents' knowledge.
Gender assignment, gender redefined, whatever they want to call it. It's nonsense.
It could be nonsense. It could be psychiatric drugs.
Yes, exactly.
It could be antidepressants. It could be all types of, listen, they could come out, they can come home where they had an antenna put in there. No, I'm serious.
These kids will be doped up out of their mind.
I'm so serious, because they can get anything done, and then you'll have to pay for it because it'll be on your insurance, and they didn't even tell you to have. Now, what's happening with this is, because it's getting rid of that age thing, then it could be at any age, and we know that the kids spend the most time in schools, and the schools are pushing a lot of this gender reassignment thing. Boys don't have to be boys, they can be girls, and the girls should cut off their boobs and be men, and all of this nonsense.
And it's becoming a cultural, social thing rather than mental illness. It's really,
well, it's a social contagion.
Yes, contagion. Exactly. Good, great word. That's exactly what
it's a disease. It's as Elon Musk put it, the woke mind virus.
But when you see, I told my nephew, I said, when you see in your school that there is 55 or 60 people that claim that they are trans and this and that. I said that no, it just doesn't add up.
Yeah,
When you look at the overall percentage of the population that has that type of mental illness, it doesn't make sense. It's not that high, which means it's become a cultural and social issue. That's the bottom line with that.
Well, but here's the deal with that whole situation. This is already being pushed in the educational system.
Oh yeah.
Now they want to take away children's telephones so that they can't record what's going on in the schools. We just saw what happened in Penfield the other day. Where
what happened? I missed that one.
Did you miss it?
I missed it.
I've
been offline this week for a little bit.
I wish I had the picture in my phone right now to show you guys. So there was this teacher in Penfield, and he had wrote on the board Republicans, and then wrote underneath it all of these horrible things, essentially applying that to Republicans.
Wow.
You know, he still got a job, bro.
Are you serious?
I'm so serious.
Well, what subject does he teach?
I'm not sure.
That's the funny part.
But I here's the problem. Had that been somebody that wrote Democrat on
right,
the board, and then negative stuff underneath
Kamala Harris, boom,
they'd have been so far gone.
Gone.
Listen, okay,
gone.
It's insane. But they don't want you to know what's being taught in the schools, and that's a very scary situation. So that coupled with this, you really never would know.
No,
you really would never know what's going on.
That to me, that's terrible. I don't have kids, and I'm probably not gonna have kids, but it's terrifying to think that my nephews and this generation, what schools become. Schools no longer an educational facility where it's based on history, math. Well, history's been long enough, but math, English, reading, writing, science. No, it's become an indoctrination station. I think that's the best way to put it.
That's all it is.
It's all it is. And then you move on to college, which gets even worse. I don't even want to talk about college, but I mean, it's at least at that point, the child, the person's 18, but still it's an indoctrination station. But pushing this on children that are, and then if you do anything against it, it's the Don't Say Gay bill or something like that, which it completely is, completely different. But I mean, this is terrifying, and I guess I see why all these people wrote to me.
Listen, terrifying is not even. I don't know a strong enough. I know a lot of words. I have an extensive, vast lexicon that I can draw from. I don't know a word strong enough to explain how bad.
This will be on the back of the ballot too, right?
When you go out when you go out, early voting starts on October 26th. So when you go out and you vote either early voting on October 26th or on election day, which is November 5th this year, okay, make sure that you flip the ballot over and you vote no on Prop 1. It's very, very serious. This is going to make it's like, terrible. So let me just put it to you this way, and I'm going to be generous and nice because this is a very serious subject, and I could go on at length on it. But I don't even want to say it out of my mouth. If the possibility that it became a thing were to happen, then it wouldn't be able to be changed for at least no less than 10 years.
Yes. Remember, this isn't a law. This is a constitutional amendment.
Now, let's talk about the difference between a law and a constitutional amendment. If it really was so good, they'd have been able to put it through actual legislation and laws. Yep. If it was so good, but they never would have got it passed in the actual
even with the Democratic supermajority.
Even with the Democratic supermajority.
And that's insane.
That's concerning.
Very concerning.
Everybody in New York State should be vastly concerned about this and flip over the ballot and vote no.
Yeah, because if you were a state legislature or state senate, you would have to go back to your constituents and explain why you voted yes for this, and no one was going to put their butt on the line for this. So what they did is they put it on the back of the ballot.
That's right, and it's a very serious issue. We need to. Unfortunately, it's not a lot of time to really talk about this and expand it to.
The best way to do is go look at it.
What I would encourage you guys to do is, if you can, is check out www.protectkidsny.com. That's www.protectkidsny.com. There's a lot of information that they have on their website that'll give you a more in-depth look into what's going on with it. And you can also have somebody come out to talk to you and your friends about what's going on and set up meetings to let people know how serious this issue is. Because if we don't address it before it becomes a problem, it's going to be hard as Hades to get it out of it.
Absolutely.
And that's what we've got on that. So if you haven't liked and shared this yet, all I'm saying is hit that like button. Okay, I see you. I see you there.
Yeah, I see
Hit
it.
that like button, okay? Hit
Thank
it.
you. Like,
and hit the share and hit the subscribe to make sure you're following.
Hit the hearts. I like to see hearts pop up. I just do
all the hearts. Oh, I love the hearts.
Boom, people love me. So
yeah,
cool.
That's right. It makes you feel good and warm on the inside. You know, I had a post earlier on Facebook. You know, I made it myself. It's my own video. I did it with my own hands.
Yeah, look at you.
I edited it myself. You know, I didn't even edit. I just put like the subtitles on it.
Yeah, right.
You know, and Facebook was like, "You can't post that. You can't post that. It's spam." My own post that I made myself on my page with my likeness, with my name, is spam.
First Amendment spam
on my page.
At your page.
Well, we talked about
That's how.
Did you catch the elephant in the room last night? Yeah, man. We talked about freedom of speech last night. Yeah, man. Listen, we talked about that was our whole first conversation about freedom of speech and the First Amendment and freedom of press and how it is actually the same thing. And this is an important thing. I need you guys, if you guys right now are not familiar with the Constitution, I understand. There's a lot in the educational system where they don't talk about it. But I encourage you, go get a copy of the Constitution or a pocket Constitution. Make sure that you have the first 10 down hard. The Bill of Rights.
Yes.
Okay. That you need to know that, like you know your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s. Not that everybody knows 1, 2, 3s.
No, I mean, so not anymore.
I mean,
not anymore.
Some of them don't even know ABCs.
You know? I don't know ABCs.
It's Hooked on Phonics worked for me. And no, they're not funding the show or endorsing the show, but they're Hooked on Phonics. If you want to support the show, you can be a sponsor.
I don't want to talk about sponsors right now.
Okay.
I don't want to get it.
Yeah, but no, seriously, and that brings us into the other conversation about education.
Yep.
So when we talk about education moving forward, what are we preparing our children for as far as the jobs of the future? Let's talk about that strike that happened the other day. You saw that strike, Brian?
That one I didn't miss. Yeah.
So we had a port strike. If you guys missed it, there's a port strike. Now the ports are where we get the majority of our goods because
anything imported coming to there.
Well, but is anything made in the U.S. anymore?
I mean, like maybe a thing or two.
Maybe a thing or two,
I
right?
think my shirt was.
They're like, listen, is it?
I must come in here and take it off.
I mean, but here's the problem, right? Like most of the stuff in America is not made in America. That's a serious issue.
And even if it is, the parts that made it aren't made in America. That's another big issue.
That's it. All of the parts are from abroad.
Correct.
So when we have issues at our ports or whatever the case may be, that seriously can clog up the supply chain and prevent you from getting the things that you need, whether it's medication or whether it's parts for your car or even things for your home.
It's regular goods, everyday goods.
It's and let's not even talk about different foodstuffs that come up in there. I can imagine all the perishable goods.
That's what they were saying. A lot of perishable goods are stocked daily. So those things, a lot of them are like produce, things like that. It's stocked daily, which means if there's a strike for a day, guess what? Empty shelves for a day.
Yeah. So we had that. So the strike happened. Now, what they were asking for in the strike was like a really huge increase.
$5 a year for like 6 years.
76% raise.
77 or 76%.
So I guess I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, so don't hold me to this, but it was like something from 26%, like they wanted to be 40 something or something like that. So I can't remember off the top of my head, so don't quote me on that. But that's a large increase. And that's just entry level salaries, right? So that's a large increase, number one. But number two, they were fighting for that and at the same time against automation.
Yes, against automation, which my dad owned an automation company for about 15 years. So
against automation. So but they're automating all of these docks and ports. Like there's one on San Francisco. It's pretty much all automated. There's a couple over there. And here's the deal. This automation thing is coming. And it's coming for all of the jobs.
And by striking, you kind of reinforced it a little bit there. So,
exactly.
You say, I'm going to strike as a human being. Well, we're going to automate it. So they don't strike.
The machines don't strike.
Machines don't go on strike.
Machines don't go on strike.
I mean, not that I know of.
So that's another thing. So now I call it, what's the best way? Excuse me. I call it self-obsolescence.
Yeah.
You understand?
You're making yourself
obsolete. So you're saying that, I want to rally against this, and but you're proving the reason why they should do
Yes,
that.
yes, it's a negative outcome for something you were expecting a completely different outcome, but it's foreseen. That's the worst part. Is it's foreseen by college people with common sense.
Well, I've been saying this for 10 years. I've been saying this, that they need to address the automation issue. It's too late now.
Yes,
It's too late. I hate to say it, it's too late.
Mhm.
So we've seen the CBO of the Central Budget Office. This is by like 2030. It's only like 5 years.
Yeah.
You know,
So it's
2030. They're
5
talking
not
about
even.
well,
So,
yeah, it's end of the
Well,
year.
5
you know,
years.
5 years.
5 years, 2
So
months, 3 months, whatever.
they're saying that somewhere
Oh,
between
God.
40 to 60% of, wait for it, all jobs in the United States will be taken by AI and automation.
Yeah. That even
That's
talking
crazy.
as high as like law jobs. They're talking about law jobs.
They've already,
Mhm.
bro, listen, they've already got these, I guess you would call them like
AI monster machines, whatever.
machine lawyers.
They'll write a whole this.
Well, but they're trying to put together that to say that, oh, well, this is going to expedite people's trials and stuff like that and get them trials first and help with adjudication.
Oh, it'll expedite something, but it won't help.
Listen, no.
It's going to take your judicial rights away.
It was bad as it was. Now you're going to put it to the hand of a machine?
Yeah, which somebody,
a cold,
somebody took that machine. Somebody made that machine. Somebody's ideas are in that machine.
Soon they're going to be like, machine human rights, right? Machine human rights, and it's coming.
I just worry about the ideological effect of AI. Because like I said, those machines are, they're smart, they're intelligent, but they get that from somebody who has an ideology of their own. So now that when that's put into that process plays out, and it's
well, but they're making it more and more difficult for you to be able to access it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They've got bills in Congress that they're trying to put forth that will limit your ability as a private citizen to have access to. Now that makes you wonder who's really benefiting from it.
Right.
So the AI boom could be a big come up for so many people, so many everyday citizens. Just like Bitcoin.
It can be used in conjunction.
But they don't want you to be able to use it. That's why they're trying to limit it to only giant, massive corporations. Yes. Now, I hate to sound like the communists on the show before us.
Oh my God!
But maybe
think about it gets me going
giving that sole power to large corporations that don't generally have the general public's best best ideals at heart. Like maybe that's not a good thing to do. Just a little bit. Like just them. Like
I'm a capitalist at heart, 100%. Don't get me wrong, but that idea might be a little stretched.
Listen, I'm just saying, I don't think anybody on any side of anything in the United States, as far as policy or politics goes, believes that big mega corporations are out for the general good of everybody in the U.S.
Exactly.
I don't think anybody.
No.
Nobody.
And the more power they get, you're gonna end up seeing the New York Yankees be like named whatever corporation Yankees. You can start seeing that stuff. I mean, these corporations, the bigger they get, they're going to be sponsoring these teams.
Well, they do it with soccer already.
Already, yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember the fighters writing like the whatever.
Yeah, no.
The sponsor stuff, they put it in.
We are living in real life Tekken. You familiar with Tekken, Brian?
Yes. I mean, I'm not a big gamer or anything
if you guys aren't familiar with Tekken is a fighting game, but Tekken is a corporation in the Tekken world, right? So they're one of the large corporations. Now, the concept behind Tekken is that, get this, listen to this, Brian. The concept behind Tekken is this. At the dawn of the new century, year 2000, there started to be all of these weather issues with climate, and the government could no longer protect or care for its own citizens.
Oh, my God.
So large corporations had to start coming in to step up because they're the only ones that were able to be strong enough to help the people. And
so this is the storyline behind
Tekken? This is the storyline behind Tekken, bro. I'm like, this is what we're seeing right now,
It just changed the year.
It's just, right? Like, this is what's happening. Like,
they told you
what's coming. Yeah, exactly. They told you what was coming. And this is real. And this is what we're seeing. And now they're talking about they're bringing back company towns, right? So where the main company in the town owns all of the town. They own the educational facilities. They own all of the different living quarters and everything. You might have seen it on Amazon. They're building these massive dormitories.
We talked about the Chinese smart cities like that.
Yeah,
they're all by
they're building
corporations.
these
Well, they're owned by
massive
government, but also
dormitories
ultimately,
for their workers and stuff like that.
So you don't have to leave.
So you don't have to leave.
You don't need travel.
And they
What's
give you
travel?
look, and they give you your education and your food and everything. Why would you ever need to leave?
Never.
Why? Exactly. And it's scarier though.
Very scary.
It's double scary because we're talking about the automation.
Yeah.
Now you've added automation into there. Now you can't work because the companies want the machines. And nobody's stopping the machines. And that's what we need to really have a conversation about. If we're not having a serious conversation about the direction that we are going in this country, all is going to be lost. And that's, you know me, I'm the Mr. Positivity here. But if we don't stand up and we don't speak up against what's going on, it's going to be pretty sour as far as things go. So we gotta start getting more active and participating in government, especially local government. We got all of these cities that are going around doing these new developments to the roads and stuff to make it difficult for you to travel through them and all of that. Okay, all of this that's being done is about power and control. You see all of these big campuses that they're building out, and they're like, oh, we're going to house people with poor income, low incomes, or the poor in there, or whatever. I'm telling you, these, don't believe me because I said it, believe me because I'm telling you that this is not for the best interest of the people, because if it really was, they'd be pushing home ownership and how to get people into home ownership. Let me tell you, for every unit that they build, it's almost 1.5 to 2 times, depending on where you are, the cost of actually buying a home. So it's very clear that none of this is about housing people and getting them into home ownership. It's completely about them staying dependent on the government.
Yeah.
And it's sad. But as we're here on WRFZ 106.3, I want to remind you, we're here every Monday from 2:30 to 4 p.m. Make sure that you tune in. And if you're watching us online, hit like, share, and subscribe. I want to see it light up.
Light up.
Light up with an array of thumbs up and hearts and all the love.
I was reading text. I couldn't stop.
And all the love. And make sure that you share, hit that share button. That is the best, most important thing that you guys can do for us right now.
Yes.
Hit the share button. It gets it out to more people. So as we continue on, we've seen so much go on in the last week or so.
By the way, stop real quick. We should tell the people on the show to listen to the show before us and listen to ours. Because they would be, the people that listen to our show, if they listen to the show before us, their mind would be blown.
Oh, my God.
Their mind would be blown.
Oh, man, it's terrible. It's so bad.
Pretend I didn't even say it. Go ahead.
But make sure you listen to us.
Yes.
And on Mondays, you tell your friends, your families, and even the people that don't like you, tell them to tune in to 106.3 WRFZ, Rochester Free Radio, and listen to The Divide. We are here for you to talk about the things that are now currently dividing our nation and dividing our world.
And keep messaging me. I appreciate that.
Are so important for us to have real conversations about, because that's being stolen.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to lead with that, because I knew you knew the issues on that, and I just, I like when people reach out to me, and trust me, if you reach out to me, you're going to get an answer. You're going to get at least an evaluation of an expression of our opinion on that answer. Whether you like it or not, you're going to get the facts of the bill, the facts of that issue, and then you're going to get our opinion on it. It's that simple.
So I'm also going to say that whoever sent him those messages needs to watch the show more often, or listen to the show more often, because we've talked about that quite a bit.
We have, but I'm glad we went through it step by step like that, because we talked about it more in pieces.
It's a very, very serious issue. Very serious issue. But this is why you have to stay up on what the government's doing, because they always up to some shady, shicey, you know what I'm saying? Shenanigans. It's real bad. It's real
Starting
bad.
wars, doing crazy stuff.
Well, why not? I mean, how much money we just give to Lebanon the other day? 160 some million.
It's insane the amount of money that we're pumping out.
We just gave Lebanon 160 million, right?
Yep.
They got Hezbollah fighting with Israel. And we just
got
gave
tunnels
Israel,
under the country.
We just gave Israel another what? 6 or something?
4.2
billion.
$4.2
billion. Ridiculous madness.
Ukraine, 8 billion.
8 billion to Ukraine. Now, let me tell you something about Israel. Israel is the 9th largest economy in the world. They do not need our money.
No.
Okay? They need to be paying us.
Yeah.
They need to be paying us. Okay?
Nor do they need our help with the war. They can go window. They don't need our help
They
with
got
that.
plenty of armaments.
That's what I'm saying. That can go smoke these people, which are showing. They are doing.
Yeah.
Let me jump in real quick with this Ukraine thing bothers me because we give them just enough to keep this war going, and then we tell them you can't use those missiles inside Russia. We can't use it, but you can take this money, you can take these weapons, and you can just fend them off. So if we really wanted Ukraine to win that war, it would be a whole different concept of what we were doing.
Ukraine could never win the war.
Yes, you're right, correct. I'm saying from a standpoint of actually funding it and not putting limitations on it. You're right, they could, and we know that, but the U.S. is doing enough so they can continue this war because there's people in our government who profit off this.
It's never been about winning.
Never, ever. It's endless. Why do we have endless wars?
You gotta think about it for two reasons. So one, it's sad. Right? And if I really get into it, people are not going to like it. So one, okay, America has a very large investment in Ukraine for two reasons. One, it's very fertile land, okay? It's essentially the breadbasket like the Midwest is here for the U.S. It's the breadbasket for all of Europe. That's number one. Number two, they've got a whole bunch of hackers and people in Kiev and stuff like that.
They do, yeah.
So they can do a whole bunch of extra stuff and activities. We're not going to talk about that on the show, okay? But these are real things. Now, on top of that, you go and you look at how many investment companies, BlackRock, Vanguard, are buying up the property and stuff over there. And you look at all these banks, American banks are invested in stuff over there.
Why would you invest in a country that's getting a war torn and this and that? It makes no sense, right? Except for it doesn't make sense.
Look,
because
don't be suspicious.
Yes.
Don't be suspicious, okay? So it's really questionable. And then people might be like, oh, well, this, that, and the third. No, hold on. How many Ukrainian males are being killed over? All of them.
Yep.
All of them, because there's unless they're the elite's children.
Exactly. Unless you're buying these huge houses and everything up in the areas where aren't being attacked because you're safe there and you're an elite.
Well, or you could be living in Kiev,
Of course.
Yeah. And they didn't conscript you because
other than that, you better run from that country. You're going to be thrown out there to fight.
Well, but they didn't allow them to run and escape.
No,
that was a whole nother separate.
They shut those borders down.
They shut and force conscripted the men over.
Yep.
But we don't want to talk about that. So there's a lot in the Ukraine situation. But the fact of the matter is they couldn't, never win a war against Russia.
It just doesn't even make sense.
All they could do is really bloody their nose, and then Russia would really
a lot of lives being lost. That's the bottom line. There's so many lives being lost.
Look at not just the lives, bro. Look at all of the lovely, wonderful architecture that has been destroyed, never to ever be recovered.
These golden buildings, these golden statues, all this, these buildings, this architecture that's been around for hundreds of years. Yeah, it's
very
insane.
upsetting. It's a erasure and deletion of history of the world. I mean, we're talking about sites that should be UNESCO sites. Like, this is really, really serious.
Then people end up getting upset. You see people when they ask Trump that question, he says, I want the dying to stop. Now, that is the best answer to that question because the way they phrase it, so do you want Ukraine to win that war? You said Ukraine cannot win that war. It's impossible for them to win that war. So what Trump is saying, I want the dying to stop. I will end this war because too many Ukrainian lives and Russian citizen lives they're dying. They're just dying every day, and it's for no good reason other than what we just talked about. So when that answer is given, and then left media tries to make Trump sign, he's for Vladimir Putin. No, he's not. He's stating a fact. He wants to, and the best answer you could possibly have. And you know what? Most of the country loves that answer because that's what people want.
We need that. We need one of them buttons. When we hit it, it plays money, money, money. Here comes the money. Whose song was that on wrestling? I can't remember.
Ted DiBiase.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy because
$1 Million Man.
That's what all of this is about. That's what all of this is about.
Always.
It's always about money. It's not about people's lives. It's not about preserving people's freedom and independence. Because if that was a fact, they wouldn't be taking the freedom and independence away from NATO countries.
Exactly.
NATO member countries are losing their freedom and independence. We're coming under the heel and the boot of the, whatever you want to call them, the global elites.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what
exactly
it is.
What it is. Globalists.
That's exactly what it is.
And when And when you have an outsider like Trump who steps in and says, I want to, you're an isolationist. No, I'm not an isolationist.
I am.
I'm
100% an isolationist.
Yes,
we don't need none of them. Yep. We need to stay out their business, and they need to stay out our business.
How about we don't turn everything into a global issue because we don't need to. We need to take care of our own first.
We can't take care of our own. Look at no. Let's not get to, because that's why I wanted to talk about the Ukraine, to Israel, to Lebanon, where the money is going.
And then bring it over here.
Let's not even talk about that part yet. Look at all of our homeless outside.
Exactly.
Look at all the veterans that aren't getting the
right outside this building or something. I mean,
this is a serious issue. But we got all this money to send to all these other countries. And again, we're talking about, oh, we're doing it for them. We're doing it for them. Man, listen here. You know that we're funding the pensions of the people in Ukraine right now when our people here are struggling with their Social Security. That Social Security is out of money because they raided the Social Security Trust. The Medicaid is out of money because they raided the Medicaid Trust to pay for the EV credit. To pay for the EV credit. They raided it.
And they didn't do any of this through Congress. That's the worst part. Congress has the purse, and they didn't do any of this through Congress.
And now they're being charged with violation of the Hatch Act because it's just long enough. They got just enough money from Congress to extend FEMA's money till after the election.
Exactly. So what does that?
So that means that not FEMA, Medicaid.
Yes. Medicaid,
so that means that Medicaid will collapse after that happens because they spent all their money on freaking solar panels and wind turbine credits. Credits. No, I'm just talking. I'm specifically talking about the Medicaid stuff because people need to understand. Because when it happens, which it will, okay, if Trump is reelected, that is not on him. That is not on Democrats. That is not on the Republicans. That is solely on the head of Kamala Harris and the Democrat Party. And somebody needs to say something, and they need to stand up on it now. The same thing with Social Security. When Social Security collapses, that is solely on the head of the Democrats. Why? Because under the Obama administration, they raided the Social Security Trust, and they could never get enough money back to put the money back in the Social Security Trust. And right now, the CBO, the Central Budget Office, is like, listen, if y'all really knew how bad it was, bad ain't even the quality of a word.
And when you don't go through Congress, the people don't know about it. So it's real. And then all of a sudden you have them come out and say this, and they hide this. But the fact of the matter is Congress holds the purse. They have avoided that and literally gone around it for all this. Now, these EV credits, every time you hear the word subsidy, subsidy, what that means is the government's just handing out money to a market that doesn't exist. And when that market doesn't exist, it's not going to get money back. So what they did is all these EV credits to all their donors and all these people who gave to the Democratic Party for years, it's not going anywhere. What's going on with that?
We talk about. I want to know where is that? Was it $4 billion or is it $7 billion? And that Pete Buttigieg got to build all of those stations, all of those electric stations.
I was talking to one of my friends.
They only built what was it?
Eight stations total.
Was it 8?
3 in this area. 8 total. And this girl was telling about it. She's like, yeah, right. She's like, I'm like, I'm serious.
They didn't even. It's just. I think it's the 3 because the other ones don't work.
The other ones are down still. Yep, they have like a whole little tarp over them still. They're not even in existence yet.
This is the serious problem with our government right now. So then we talk about all of this money going over to these foreign countries for foreign wars. Listen, Israel is our ally, right?
Yes.
Fine. They want to go to war with other people. Fine. You explain to me right now, this very second, with everything we have going on in the country, the illegal aliens, okay, the massive inflation, okay, explain to me how us focusing our money and resources on some countries over there is good for us. And more important, this is a key part, the more important than focusing that money on building up our economy, making sure that our citizens can help and eat healthy and help their children, and the educational quality is good, but we send all this money all the way overseas. And then we end up with stuff like FEMA. FEMA gave $1 billion.
I'm just
$1 billion, brother.
Yep.
$1 billion for illegal aliens. Yep. Okay, over the last year and a half, $1 billion. Now they're talking about they ain't got no type of money for any other hurricanes. And now we about to hit this hurricane. Right now, was it Milton?
Yep.
Milton in Florida right now. They talking about it's going to be the biggest evacuation since 2017. You know, I heard the governor had the, what's his name? I don't know, the guy, the emergency management out there or whatever. And he was like, listen, this is going to be our biggest evacuation since 2017.
Yeah, it's coming right over the whole state. It's going to crush.
And he said something that was really key, right? He said this. He said, listen, if you're in an area that you can't evacuate from, evacuate.
Yeah.
But if you are in a house that is built up to Florida standards and regulations, that's any house built after, I believe he said 2004.
Yeah, it was somewhere around. Yep.
You might be better just staying home. Here's the reason why. Because everybody's going to be trying to get out.
Yes. And the high land doesn't exist in Florida until you get to Georgia.
So that means that if everybody's trying to get out, that it's going to be so bad that they're like, listen, you might as well just rock out and hope that you don't die in your house. If you know what I'm saying? Because it's going to be that bad. People will be on the highway. They're going to be flooded.
Like one way, there's going to be nobody going one way, everybody going the other way. Exactly.
Okay? And this is something that needs to be, but they ain't got no money for that.
No.
What happened to the people in North Carolina?
Right? And when this clown Mayorkas comes out after being in hiding for 6 months, after all the shootings and all the assassination stuff, he comes out. The first thing he says to the camera is, we're going to run out of money with FEMA in the next couple of days. I'm like, I'm sitting there, my mind's blown. My mind is blown. You are FEMA. You are the ones who take care of emergencies after a huge event like that. That's your job. What happened with Katrina? Didn't the Bush administration get crushed by the media for not handling Katrina? Look at this is worse. This is way worse. And the media is running cover for these people still. Running cover for this administration.
Don't get me started. So I was never a fan of Bush. Okay.
No, I'm not saying I was either, but
the point I'd like to bring up is the government does not care about you.
No.
Period. And that's why all of us that actually care need to get involved in government. And we have to start at least on the local level, because nothing is going to change until we are the change that we want to see, until we get candidates in the offices that are going to stand up, that are going to speak up. And that's why it's so crucial that you get involved. It's also why it's so crucial that you hit subscribe and share and follow right now. Hit the share button. Share this out there with everybody, so people can start to hear more of a conversation that they generally don't hear. And hit the likes and the hearts, because that helps kick the algorithm to show it to more people. Now, as we talk on this very important conversation, we can talk about North Carolina and Tennessee and how these places that have been flooded out, they're not even getting any money. But it's not even that they're not getting any money. It's that the U.S. government, okay, FEMA, disaster management, and the rest of them, and the Army, are not letting in people that want to help. They won't let anybody in that wants to help.
You. They are arresting people who are attempting to come in to make life-saving donations or to find people to do search and rescue. If you're coming in to do that, they are literally telling you you can't come in, and if you try, guess what happens? It's despicable. Does that blow your mind or not? I mean, it blows my mind. When I first heard it, I was like, no way. No,
the government doesn't give a flying monkey's uncle about you. Period. End of story. And that's why we have to.
Those people now found out the hard way. They thought this was going to hit. Guess what? Government was going to be there to save them. And now they're standing there with nothing, with no help, and sitting there waiting for help and saying, what is going on right now? They found out the hard way. Don't let everybody else find out that way, because it will happen eventually. There will be something in your area, and the government is $750. They're going to give you $750. What's that going to do? Get you 3 nights in a hotel?
$750?
Yeah.
You mean the $750 that they denied the people from the area that were able to apply?
Yes. And then you apply for it. They said, wait, and you don't qualify.
But then also, you had to be able to do it online, knowing good and
you can't get online.
That they can't get online because all the towers and everything is out. And they ain't got no electricity and all of this and all of that.
Oh my God!
And you didn't even want to let the Starlink systems in there.
Yeah.
Starlink, you guys, if you're not familiar, is a radio satellite internet system that is owned by Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And he was offering it to the people
for free.
For free. Now, if you look into it, he's done that in many other places, including Ukraine and stuff like that, to actually help out.
Where he's been welcomed with open arms.
When there has been issues, yes. So please understand, the government does not care about us. That's why we, as citizens, have to get involved.
Yes, we need more citizens,
to hold
not
people
politicians.
accountable, okay? And these people in there, listen, I'm telling you right now, from my lips to your ears. Don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm telling you. They do not have your best interest at heart. The vast majority of them do not.
It's time to start getting rid of current politicians. And I'm talking about on both sides. Because the fact of the matter is, we need to get more people like Marcus, for example, like Tracy DeFloria, like Chief Van Brotherode, people who aren't politicians, who are going in there for the right reasons, who had careers, who have businesses beforehand, who were, a chief of police for this many years, who are there for the right reasons and who have your best interest and the constituents' best interest in mind, other than just enriching their own lives. Marcus doesn't need to enrich his own life. He's gonna make more money in his regular business than he is, going to be a politician. But there's a reason he's continuing to run for these offices in an area where the odds are stacked against him. And we need to change that because he's in an area that is flooded with Democrats, and he's been offered, well, change your party, Marcus. Change your party, you'll get elected. But someone who stands on principle, like Marcus, who says no, because that's not who I am. We know people who have done that, Marcus, and they got elected, right? And they got elected. And guess what? They turned into just another, whatever. But it would be real easy for Marcus, as a black man, to change your party to Democrat, and they pull that ballot all day. Boom, 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 you get elected.
Oh, yeah. See, but a lot of this, and this is why we need to stand on principles and we need to stand on values. We could have a whole conversation about Republicans and the differences between the Republicans and the Democrats versus our founding philosophy versus what we're seeing today. Okay, the Democrat Party, unfortunately, has been the party that has continued to pass laws from its inception to subjugate Black Americans. Okay, they were the party of slavery. Okay, they actually formed to fight to keep slavery, and the Republicans formed to fight to free the slaves. That's the origin story of both of those parties. And then we move forward, you ask yourself, well, what about Jim Crow? Who was in charge of that? That was the Democrats.
That was the Democrats.
The Democrats.
It's always been the Democrats.
Then you look at all of the other policies that have harmed and hurt the Black community. Behind all of them were the Democrat policies. Well, that's the Great Society Project by Lyndon B. Johnson. Okay, and Lyndon B. Johnson, a Democrat, was known to be one of the most racist people,
very much so,
in the history of our government, aside from Andrew the Indian Killer Jackson, who was the founder of the Democrat Party, who was called the Jackass, which is why their logo is a jackass.
Yes, correct.
So that's not
a random thing.
That's not a random thing. So this is what the history of our nation shows you. And we look at the policies today in urban areas that are densely populated with Black people, and you see the Democrats are all the ones in power in these areas that are all destitute. What is happening to the Black community in these neighborhoods and these areas that are all run by Democrats?
Are they getting better?
They're getting worse. They're being run into the ground, and people are being pushed out of their homes and out of their communities for all of this redevelopment. It's urban renewal part dose. And who was in charge of urban renewal? Again, the Democrats. So this isn't me saying, oh yeah, the Republican Party is the greatest party of all and ever. I'm just talking specifically about the continued wrongdoing to Black Americans by the Democrat Party, to point out to you that they have never changed, they have never shifted, but every year when it comes to election, they come to you like no, not even like a savior. Like you owe them your vote
because they already went to say. So
you owe them your vote.
So they take it for granted.
It's absolutely atrocious what is being done by them, and now they've got all these illegal aliens. Now, where are they pumping the illegal aliens largely? Into Black communities. Why would they do that? I mean, because they know that Black Americans are starting to wise up, and they're like, well, wait, maybe I'll be independent, or maybe I'll be Republican. Because they see what's going on.
I think some people are saying
that the Democrats are completely doing everything they can to disadvantage Black Americans.
So truly disenfranchise Black Americans. Not just the word, not just that word when they get up and say, they're disenfranchised. No, they're truly disenfranchised.
This is a fact. I mean, look at all of the, urban centers that are highly populated.
Densely populated areas.
Look at the educational issues. Detroit, Chicago, Rochester. Okay, New York City in the Black area.
They're not underfunded.
Okay, Baltimore. You understand what I'm saying? DC, Like, are we like? There's no way that these are the statistics that you can go look up.
These are real. These are real. Nobody's hiding them.
Man, listen. But they keep saying, "Oh, well, we're doing it," and they're like, "Oh, just throw money at it, throw money
the
at
money's
it."
there.
Listen, I remember. Listen, they threw like $34 million every year here in Rochester against poverty and all this stuff. But poverty has gotten bigger. You know, the number of people that are struggling has gotten bigger.
Homeless centers are jacked to the max.
Homeless is there. You can't even get in the homeless center.
You got to show up 6 hours early and stand in line just to get in.
It's terrible. It's terrible. So where is all this money going? And if the money is going, and it was helping, we know it's not. But if it was, then maybe if the problem is continuing to grow bigger than the money, that we are putting the money in the wrong place and not focusing on the right issue.
Maybe you're funding the problem and not fixing the problem. There's a big difference between two. But you know
what?
But if that's what I'm saying, if it was fixed, what would the Democrats run on? What would they run on if the schools were fixed? What would they run on if Black people owned more businesses in the area and the area started to revive themselves because there was more actual real money, real wages were higher, things like that. And areas were able to make investment. What if Walgreens could actually invest in an area instead of
have that? And they're closing in November.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They're divesting.
You guys, if you're watching from an area you're not familiar in my neighborhood, they're closing the Walgreens in our neighborhood. They've closed.
That's Bull's Head, right?
That's Bull's Head. That's Bull's Head. Okay, right on West Main Street. Don't get me started about the construction. But they're closing that one. They closed the other one not too far. That's on Brooks and Chili. A couple years ago, and they closed the one on Carter and what's that? Carter and Portland and Clifford, right there. Same difference.
Portland and Norton, Portland and Clifford. Yes,
Portland and Clifford. And I think they call it Carter because Carter comes right down that street. Right. But they're closing all of these stores because they're continuously getting robbed, and it's a very serious problem. Because who wants to work? Forget the money that they're losing. Who wants to work there if you're constantly getting robbed? Like, you don't want that extra stress. You know, that's the problem. So you see these issues that are going unaddressed continually. We've got a Democrat city council. All of our state assembly and state senators are Democrat. Our federal congressman is a Democrat. Both of our state senators, are Democrats for our area. What's being done? The Democrats have the supermajority in the state assembly right now,
which means they can do anything they want.
Man, they got the state house, they got the governor. You know,
you don't even have to show to work. Show up to work. Cast the vote.
Oh, we talked about that.
I told my dad that. He's like, "What?" He said, "What?"
Don't even get me started. Well, I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but long story short, to talk about what Brian is talking about right now in the state assembly, if you agree, I'm using quote fingers for those of you who are listening. Matter of fact, like, share, and subscribe right now. Hit that subscribe button right now. Hit that share button. Double hit the share button. Hit it like twice, 3 times. And share it out the groups. Share it out to your page. Share it out everywhere. Okay. And make sure you hit the likes and the hearts. And show us some love. Okay. Now let me tell you this. This is an important part. Open your ears. Listen hard. Okay. So right now, true fact. You go look this up. In New York State Assembly, if a law is being passed and you support this law, you do not have to show up to vote on it. You just have the head of your party for that house vote for the whole caucus. That is a very serious problem. These people just got a 29% raise, and you mean to tell me that they don't need to even come to work? But the more
who does have to go?
But the more concerning part of that is with these people that now, if you want to say no, I oppose this, you have to come in there and you'll be like the only person in there. You'll be shamed. And who wants that shame?
Exactly.
Not many people can deal with that. Not many people are strong enough.
And remember what bills reach
integrity, right? To stand up and say, yes, me, even though everybody else is not here, that I'm standing alone and I'm standing against this.
And there's no conservative bills reaching the floor. Trust me. Everything that reaches the floor is leaning left.
And every single one is being pushed through by it, depending on which house you're in. Stuart Cousins and what's the other one? The other two named person, People Stokes.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that I'm pretty sure those are
names. The names are odd.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure those are the two people, the House and the Senate.
You would think like,
which one's
wait, who's that? What's going on?
I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on both of those, but definitely Stewart Cousins. Okay, but it's a problem.
Yeah,
they don't have to come to work
That's
to do
insane.
their job, and
You
they
sit
don't even
at your
have
office
to do.
wherever
They don't
you
even forget not having to come to work
Mhm.
to do your job. They don't even have to physically do their job.
Like that is their job.
Your job is to vote.
Research and vote.
Like what? You don't even have to vote. So that just goes with like the brass tacks though. Brass tacks as Americans right now. I can't talk about anywhere else in the world. I can just talk about my experience as an American in life. So in America, we tend to be more, oh well, we wish somebody else would do it for us type of people.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, we'll do it.
Yeah, but if
we don't have to, if we can get somebody else to do it for us.
Yeah, that's
so
better.
how many of these? I don't want to say lazy.
I mean, I do want to say lazy,
but how many of these, for lack of a better term,
content,
lazy, uninspired, unconcerned, unmotivated individuals are not going down there for these votes, regardless? I'd be there anyway.
Yeah, I know.
Why would I not?
And that's the whole thing.
You know,
is how many Republicans aren't going because maybe they're not leaving. Maybe they just don't want to be shamed. But maybe they are. Maybe they're just like, what's the point?
Well, if you're a Democrat, your whole caucus, your whole party, okay, all the members are like, yeah, we're gonna vote for this. Why are you gonna be the only person down there be like, no, I'm not gonna vote for that? And then we wonder why we have all these laws in upstate, and I was talking about this yesterday. We have all these laws in upstate New York that are terrible for us, are hurting us, and because it's all coming from downstate and what they want, and nobody has any testicular fortitude to stand up, okay?
And say what works in New York City doesn't always work in Rochester.
It doesn't even work in New York City.
Exactly.
You know,
look at New York City. How's well that's doing well.
It's terrifying and it's terrible. It's terrifying and it's terrible. But we talk about these issues, and I got so passionate about it, I forgot what we were actually talking about.
That was a good story. We need to tell that.
But it was important to talk about.
Absolutely.
But the government doesn't care about you, okay? And this is why we need to be on them all the time, to be paying attention to what's going on. And we need representatives that are going to tell us what's going on.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
do you ever hear anything? What's going on? Never. You got to literally pull teeth to get anything. And you don't hear about, of course, you don't hear about the bill in general. You don't hear about the earmarks and all that stuff, of course. But I mean, I could talk about a whole show about voting on single issues, anyways, instead of voting on these bills that have funny names and have 18,000 things attached to them.
But this is the problem. Why don't we have single issue voting?
Every bill should be passed as a single issue.
Well, especially for me, for like the Senate,
and
in the federal Senate, with this whole, and the House of Representatives,
of course,
in the federal level. What is going on with these continuing resolutions?
I can't stand it.
Why?
They chuck a few things in there and
just do your job,
right?
Just break up the funding bills for each.
Every bill should be broken up. Mark, it is insane, and I discuss this all the time. It is insane that we vote on a bill named the Inflation Reduction Act, but go through that bill. Look what was involved in that bill. There was 1,800 pages of nonsense.
Funding stuff like is a Japanese quill more promiscuous on cocaine?
Studies like that. And then
I'm not making that up. No, I'm not making. That's a real thing, people.
And then like this congressman in North Dakota got an extra $4 million to build an arch in the front of his city court. It's like, it's ridiculous. You get $1 million to build 2 public toilets, which is a real thing too.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely terrible, and it's abhorrent. We need to, as a community of Americans, the American community, need to start engaging more with our elected officials.
We need to demand better. We don't just deserve better. You don't just deserve better and get it. You got to demand.
Well, but you also have the right. It is your right, and vicariously your responsibility to redress your grievances with your government.
Yes.
I see so many people that are online, they'll complain, they'll hog, but they'll sit on their couch.
Yeah, most people don't have a radio show, so they're not able to say anything.
But it's not even about saying
exactly.
anything.
You can do something.
Can you go get active, volunteer with a campaign?
Correct.
Okay, somebody that you believe in.
Well, let them put signs in your yard even. Do something like that. I mean, so many people say no to that.
Say no to signs?
Yes.
Just signs. We care, but we don't want to put any signs in.
Right? My yard's filled with signs.
But that is a very valid point that Brian just made. I want to point out. there are a lot of people like we've done hundreds of
Yeah.
calls.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're talking the same registered party.
Yes, Republicans
that do not want to put signs in their yard.
They're scared, or
Because
they
they're
just
yeah.
That's the biggest thing I heard.
They're
There's a
scared,
person 2
yeah.
houses down, and she's a huge conservative. And she said, I actually gave her address to Megan. I was like, yeah, she'll do it. She came out. She was like, Brian, I live alone. As you know, she's like, nobody's coming in your house, but look at me. I live alone, and I get it. I get it where she's coming from, but it shouldn't be like that.
That's because again, there's the fortitude. There's none of it. It's gone. Everybody's so weak, and then they wonder why everything gets worse and worse and worse. So this is what happened. We see it as right now, well, oh, things are bad, but you won't stand. This is what happened during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't stand up.
Yes.
You refused to stand up.
Look what happened.
And Cuomo got in front of Congress, bro. Cuomo got in front of Congress and he said, and this is quoting him.
Yes,
this is
exactly,
quoting Cuomo. You can look this up. He said, I would have never been able to enforce any of that if the people would have said that they don't want it.
That's all. It's what he said. He said, literally, if they said no, I could have enforced it.
I couldn't have enforced it.
He said, if the people stood against it, there was no way to get it going. There was no way to enforce my EOs, my executive orders, if the people stood against it.
But they weren't even all executive orders. A lot of it was just a lot of lip service.
Yes, exactly.
And what do they call it? Guidelines.
Don't kill your grandmother. You're going to be a grandmother killer. So it was.
Don't even get me started. But that shows you. That shows you. People were reporting on their neighbors for having too many cars at Thanksgiving or Christmas.
I mean, come on.
This is the world that we live in. And these same people are like, I don't know how the Nazis ever came to power.
Oh,
well, look at what you're doing right now.
They came to power. They didn't invade Germany. They came to power. Remember
look at what you are informing on your neighbors over Thanksgiving. Okay, and you asking you don't know how the Germans came to power. Just like that.
People are screaming at me for jogging without a mask. I mean, come on. You want me to put a mask on while I jog?
It's insane. It's terrifying.
Terrifying.
And you don't have to be one of those true believers that believes in all of the COVID stuff and all of that to understand, regardless of what you believe, that there was a very large amount of government overreach that should not have happened during that period of time in our history.
And suppression, government suppression, and and the violation of the First Amendment was insane, and people did not speak up about it.
But that's why they're still doing it now.
Yes,
on social
exactly.
Media.
They're still doing it.
You can't post that.
I mean, I saw someone on X post yesterday. This person posted literally, and they don't even understand the irony if it's slapped in the face. He said, Elon Musk, did you hear Elon Musk at the rally? That person needs to be silenced in order to save our democracy. And I said, you wouldn't understand irony if it slapped you in the face. That statement was the most ridiculous statement. So that person needs to be silenced. First of all, you're still on his side, aren't you? But it's just insane.
You want to snatch away the First Amendment. And I encourage you guys, if you watch The Elephant in the Room with Marcus C. Williams, go check out that podcast. You can find it on YouTube, X, you'll find it. But see, and Facebook. But here's the deal. If we're talking very seriously about the First Amendment infringements in relation to COVID, we have to talk about how they built this whole complete nonsense out of the time of COVID. Disinformation, things that aren't.
I mean, they were going to have a ministry of it for a lady dancing to the what was that? The song with what was that song she had? Oh my God, Mary Poppins, the Mary Poppins lady.
But it's crazy because people don't see, and I don't understand for the life of me how they don't see that these are bad things. And again, I go back to the issue with the what's his name, the mayor shutting down the East End.
Yes,
So that's fascism. Not only is it not legal,
that is true fascism.
He's doing it through a executive order through the city because it's a gun violence state of emergency.
Yes, in which he can do anything.
Like, you guys need to wake up, and they're like, oh, well, at least he's trying to do something. Bro, at what level of conceptualization are you going to excuse what people are doing when it goes against our Constitution and your rights and liberties?
Yes, seriously, the end does not justify the means in most cases. And that's been I guess that's the whole thing. It's been like that for 8 years. It's been like we need to get rid of Trump at all costs, no matter what it takes. And it doesn't, as long as he's gone, it doesn't matter what we did to stop him. So they've gone with that in order to. So basically, they've said, we should be able to stop opinions, not facts, not lies. First of all, lies are legal. Lies are covered under the First Amendment. You can lie. No one says you can't lie. You might sound like an idiot. No one's going to trust you, but you can lie. But misinformation, disinformation, those words are words that the government came up with because they're not lies. It's just a difference of opinion. So they call it disinformation. And then they go try to silence that, which is insanity because now it's just complete suppression of speech. That's all it is. You're taking the First Amendment right away from an entire fraction of people, which represents a huge fraction of people. You're talking 50% or more. And you're saying that 50% doesn't matter to save our democracy. It doesn't make sense.
We're not even a democracy.
No, we're not. We're a constitutional republic. But I mean, it's exactly. A democracy is completely different. That's actually in a democracy, 51% actually could oppress the other 49%.
They're doing it now.
And they're doing it because that's why they keep calling it a democracy.
They're pushing it that way, and it's very concerning. And it should be concerning, again, with the East End situation. Where are these anti-fascist people?
No, they're screaming about Trump being a fascist.
Where
Elon Musk
is
being a
that?
fascist.
Like, this is happening here right now. And you're like, oh, okay, well, we're just going to let it go. You know, somebody had the daggone nerve and audacity. They had the caucasity, okay, to tell me, oh, well, it's bad over here. Bad? It's bad? It ain't bad over there. You don't live where I live. Talking about
East
it's
End?
Bad. The East End is bad.
That's horrible.
Oh, is it? Compared to where I live?
Compared to Clinton? Way worse. Compared to where you live? Way worse.
Oh, yeah.
East End people get popped nightly. No,
what are you talking about? Like you don't even know what bad looks.
You're dressing up in a little dress and going out to bars.
You don't have a conceptualization of what bad crime is,
right?
Because you don't live in a high crime area.
You're coming from Pittsburgh and going to East End, and you think East End bad.
Like you talking about? Oh, listen. Later, excuse my language. Later and I mean it not. I'm gonna curse, but I mean it in the usage of the words that I'm using. Yeah. I don't mean it to sound bad, but I mean it because you got to understand what I'm saying. Later for the East End, because look at again Clinton and Norton. Yep. Look at Jefferson. Okay, look at Chili. Yep. Look at the issues that are coming up all in these areas that are Lake Avenue. These issues
spreading Joseph Avenue, Portland, spreading down.
You know, and all of these different areas. These are very serious, high crime impacted areas. The East End, comparatively, isn't even a drop in the bucket.
It's an entertainment district. It's not even a district where it's got some loss.
Well, but all of their issues are the issues that you'd have in an entertainment district.
That's my point. Exactly.
People get drunk and have issues.
And fight. People get drunk and throw
People get drunk and fight. Yeah. Or maybe somebody didn't pay for their drugs.
Yeah,
I can't help you.
You got some cocaine dealers over there.
Okay, stop buying drugs, people. Stop doing drugs. Drugs are bad. Okay,
it kills you.
But it also leads towards crime. Okay, so stay away from drugs.
You can't call the cops if you get robbed in a cocaine deal. You just can't. So
except for that one lady.
That was the best.
Oh man!
So they said what? He said what?
And then she tried to explain it away.
Right? Explain it. But yeah.
She did. What did she say? That she gave me what was it? Baking
soda. Yeah. Baking soda. Yeah. I paid for 2 grams of cocaine. She gave me 2 grams of not even 2 grams baking soda.
The lady said, "Officer," I said, "I don't." She said, "I don't know this lady. Me and my people don't sell no drugs." But she kept asking. So
I can't stop. That was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. The 911 operator was like, "What?"
So it's insane but it shows here. Here's the thing: like, share, and subscribe right now. Definitely hit the share button. But I want to get real close to the microphone because I want to be serious, very in depth and intense in this interpersonal communication. Right? So people have this concept that if it's not happening to me, then it doesn't impact anybody, not just them, but anybody. If it's not happening to me, it is not real.
Yes,
they will tell you that they care about things that they don't actually care about,
like Ukraine.
Because when you tell them that you're experiencing a serious issue with the thing they say they care about, they're like, "Oh, that's not an important thing."
Yeah,
this is very, very serious. And because of the great majesty of our country, people have been afforded the ability to have such a luxury that they don't care about what other people are experiencing because they feel separate from them. And we need to get back to the point where they talk about all of these things like this DEI, getting outside your silo and understanding it from another person's point of view. But none of these people want to understand it from another person's point of view. They have cognitive bias. They have cognitive dissonance when you try to tell them something.
Yeah, they'll tell you they don't, but they do.
Yeah, they have implicit biases, which not only are implied, but are real things
and are pushed.
that are pushed because of the confirmation bias that they have, in which they just pull up information that represents their one way of thought. I have seen this working in the world of I'm a environmental conservationist, so I see this in the world.
They research things they want to see. Not what
I see this all the time in the world of the greenings. They live disconnected from regular society.
Real life, yeah.
Okay, I'm an environmental conservationist. I want clean air, clean land, clean water, all of that. I want the forests to be restored.
But these people can't hold jobs.
I want to bring back the bisons and all of that. Okay, so that's where I stand on that. I want to clean the rivers and the lakes, all of it. But when we get these people that are so and people shouldn't wear clothes because it's creating carbon, and you should be taxed out of existence because you're creating carbon. The cow farts are destroying the
paper
planet
straws and plastic wrappers.
Well, but the chemicals in the paper straws are very serious. That's a whole separate conversation. But I deal with this all the time because they'll be like, "Oh, that's not an issue." I was in a group. I'm not specifically not in the group right now. I'm taking a hiatus because I didn't like the way it was going because the issues that they're talking about were not the issues that we have here locally. They were the issues that excuse what it is, but this is what it is, that these largely white women that were entitled,
their whole lives,
felt like should be the issues for the city.
Yes.
Oh, okay. God, I'm glad you said that's a serious problem. And half of them, more than half, is like 75%, aren't originally from the city.
No.
So how are you going to tell me?
They're going to tell you
what the issues are? I said, one of the issues is the lights. So we've got these LED lights. Everybody's, LED lights are better. Because why? They're not better. Science says that the LED lights are not better. The spectrum that they give off, and because they flash so many times a second, it's bad for humans.
Plus, I look so much better under the light.
Well, this is known. Like, you can look this stuff up. The LED lights are not good for humans.
Yes, correct. Yep.
So, but we can't have that conversation. And I'm like, the lights are too bright. The LED lights are too bright. They need to change them back to the what do you call it? No, not incandescent. Sodium vapor lights. Sodium vapor lights. They need to turn them back to those because those were better not just for the environment, physically, and the plants and the animals and stuff, but also for the people. Now you've got these bright blue lights out in the middle of the night
that are flashing a million times a second
that are destroying our biosphere because they can't cognitively.
No, they won't listen to any other issue besides the ones they have in their mind already.
Yes, and it's like, I hear you on the issue that you think is an issue. But can you hear me that this is a thing?
No.
Not only is it a thing, it's a thing that we can readily address because in the scope of the universe, it is relatively much smaller.
And if you want what you say you want, then listen to me for a minute because this is going to actually help you get there. But no, they don't want to.
And I talked about the issues with the trees and the other things, and people don't want to hear these things because they got these concepts stuck in their heads of what it should be, and this is a justified way, and this is so righteous. And I'm like, you guys, you're missing all of the serious issues.
You're pushing aside, you're stepping over dimes to get to nickels, and it's ridiculous how it happens in not only society, but like you said, the government in the city, how people come from Pittsburgh and all of a sudden they know all the problems. They know all the problems that exist in the city. I know who you're talking about too, and I'm not going to say any names, but they are insane, literally insane when it comes to their decision making. Please go to a city council meeting and listen to some of these people speak. You'll know who I'm talking about too, after one meeting, I promise.
I can't, bro. It's terrifying that so many people in our country really are so stuck on themselves that they only have one way of thinking, and they're not even opening to understand, to be willing to understand what somebody else believes. I have a friend, and I'm trying to explain something to him, and I'm like, listen, you got to step out of what your preconceived notions are,
open mind for
and listen to what I am saying from where I am coming from. Because what you're doing is you're taking what your stuff is and you're putting it on what I'm saying, and I'm trying to tell you that what I'm talking about has nothing to do with it. But you're trying to integrate your
just push it aside for a second. Listen to me, like listen to me
for 2 seconds, right? And this is an issue that we need to have with having real conversations in the United States right now. We are not able to understand how somebody else outside of us thinks because we are not ready to listen to what somebody else thinks and understand them from their own perspective. I talk to these people all the time. I have a problem talking to the communists, the fascists, or whoever, because I want to understand you.
Yeah, I want to understand what makes you think, what makes you tick.
Maybe somewhere in there is a good idea.
Right.
There is this thing. There is this. I can't remember where I learned this, but years ago, and it changed my life. Years ago, somebody said, okay, or I heard somewhere that even your enemy can tell you something important.
Yes.
And that has changed and reframed my whole life. So now I really, honestly, and earnestly listen to everybody.
Makes sense.
Especially when they have a different point of view than I do.
That's the most important time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to listen to someone who has the exact same view. Marcus, you can listen to me because I agree with you on stuff. But you know what? Maybe we should listen to someone else with a different view. It's a lot harder to do that. But sometimes you have to actually do it.
So now I didn't watch the movie, but Don't Look Up.
Yeah,
Don't Look
I
Up?
love that movie.
So
it's hilarious. Don't Look Up.
So Don't Look Up.
It's right there.
Yeah, wasn't that produced by the Obamas too?
Yeah, it was.
So anyway,
but it was crazy.
So but they were like, listen, this was
there's a comet.
It's a comet, right?
See
it's gonna come and gonna hit the planet, and everybody's like, oh no, that's not happening because the news said it's not happening. They're like, yes, it is. Look, it's going on. And then they're trying to tell the people, and people are like, oh no, you're crazy and everything like that.
They were comet deniers.
That's right, they were comet deniers. So it goes back to like Moses, right? Now it depends on what you read in the story versus what you think the concept is, which I encourage you to go read it anyway. But long story short, there's this song. It's by this guy. His name is Savin of Sky. I encourage you to check him out. Okay, he's a Christian artist, and he's got this one song, and it says, "Moses has never looked so sane. You're mocking him in the rain." I said, if that doesn't beat all, that's everything in society right now. Everything. Look, this is happening very clearly. You can see it. It's not happening.
And this is something that I'm glad we're ending up this conversation because that's the conversation people need to take away from the whole show today.
Yeah.
You take away one thing. Take away that. Listen to people who have different ideas than you. And when you put it this way, 15 years ago, liberals used to be free speech absolutists. The speech they defended was the speech they didn't agree with because that's the speech you that's most important to be defended. And of course you're going to defend the speech you agree on. But what about the speech you don't agree on?
And that's very serious. So here's my suggestion and advice to all of you. Make sure that you start getting involved and listening, not just to others, but going out to meetings, city council, county ledge, wherever you can, school board, whatever is your interest, planning board, zoning board, whatever. And get involved. Go join your local Republican or Democrat committee if you're a registered Republican or Democrat. Go out and get active, find out what's going on, read up on the laws that are being generated and passed, especially on the state level, and get involved. We need more people that are good, sound of mind, willing to listen people to get involved. So with that, we're going to close the show. I'm going to encourage you, hit share one more time.
Hit
them like buttons. Okay.
Problems, like what your thoughts are, please, on Facebook message.
And make sure that you tune in next week from 2:30 to 4 p.m. on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. And definitely catch the elephant in the room with Marcus C. Williams podcast. Go look it up on YouTube and on X. You guys be blessed, be well, and remember, stand up, speak up, don't shut up, take action.
Take it easy, guys. Boop, boop, boop. That was a good show, especially then. It was real good. The whole thing was good. But...
All right, guys.
I'm getting up like 4 times.